Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the SEMLab Digital Careers broadcast. This session will last around 45 to 60 minutes and will include a speaker presentation followed by panel discussion and Q&A from our audience today. This session will help you to learn more about the variety of different digital careers available across many different industries and sectors. Questions for today's speakers can be submitted via the Q&A function on the right-hand side of your screen, and this will be open throughout the session. I'm delighted to welcome our first speaker, Paul Thompson. Paul is the Education and Skills Manager with SEMLab, and we'll kickstart our session with a short presentation. Paul, over to you.
Thanks, Carly, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to come to this broadcast. So just to introduce myself very briefly, I'm Paul Thompson. I'm the Employment and Skills Manager for this organisation called SEMLab. So it's the South East Midlands Local Enterprise Partnership. We're responsible for the economic development in the area, and one of those roles within that is the development of skills and making sure that people have got the right skills and know about the opportunities within the area. So the area itself is actually Bedfordshire, Luton, Milton Keynes and Northamptonshire. So quite a large area, and it was put together because we do have similar kind of businesses, and certainly the travel to work and travel to education is usually within that area. Most people stay within the area. We've got about 886,000 people in employment in the area out of a population of about 1.7 million. And last year, we actually had 160,000 job vacancies in the area. So, you know, despite COVID, it wasn't too bad. And in fact, employment continued to rise. The latest figures we've got are up until September, and employment was still going up. I'm pretty sure it'll have a little bit of a dip, but I think it will be okay. It will recover quite quickly. Our employment rates are above national averages, so it's really good rates. And the good thing is it's across the whole of the area, the whole of the patch. In particular, Northamptonshire, which has seen immense growth over the last few years. So again, lots of opportunities. In a couple of places, Milton Keynes and Northampton, we actually have more jobs than working age population. Which is why the traffic is so horrendous in the morning when you go in. But that's, you know, there's a lot of jobs there and high levels of employment. Now, does that mean you're going to walk into a job? No, it doesn't. There's lots of things you've got to do to get yourself prepared. And we'll kind of talk a little bit about those later on. Now, clearly, COVID-19 has had an impact. It was bound to. If you actually kind of look at how employers recruit generally, certainly in the digital world, most of it's advertising online, social media or word of mouth. We have seen a decline in kind of job vacancies overall over the last few years. And obviously with COVID-19, it really did stall things. We were seeing growth at the beginning of 2020, in fact, extraordinary growth. But then obviously COVID-19 came along and it just stalled it a little bit. The good news is we are starting to see a recovery again. The numbers are picking up and we're currently at about 73% of what we were before COVID-19. So it's heading in the right direction. There will be plenty of opportunities there. Some sectors, some types of businesses were more resilient than others. And I'm pleased to say that digital was certainly one of those. Especially on the digital skills, specialist digital skills, and there's a whole kind of raft of specialist digital skills that we're really kind of talking about this evening. Just to give you a feel for it, I mean, certainly we're talking about programming, big demand for programmers, software developers right across. There's the DevOps, so you may not have come across this expression before, but it's the development information technology operations. It's kind of a practice of where it's kind of software development kind of developed in partnership with the users, etc. So you actually develop systems that can actually be tested quite quickly, revised, and they come through much quicker. Hardware and infrastructure support. So this is looking after the kit basically, and the systems and the networks. Data analysis. So this is taking some of the huge amounts of data, etc., and making sense of it and using systems and software to do so. So some of the data I show later on comes from big data and it gets analysed that way. Digital design. So this includes kind of media, graphic design, gaming, that kind of thing, all those kind of activities. Customer relationship management. So this is more or less looking after businesses and the business systems that sit behind that. but also, managing this kind of relationship with customers with data and information. Digital marketing, especially for the smaller businesses, we're seeing a huge increase in businesses using social media, etc., doing their marketing. And quite a few of those businesses are looking for young people because they get it, they understand it. Manufacturing technology, it's becoming more and more computerized. It has been for a number of years, to be honest. So CAD, computer-aided design, and CNC, computer numerical control, machining, and cybersecurity. You'll have heard it on the news. You'll have seen kind of articles about it. It applies to everything and everything that we do, and every company. So again, a huge need for people kind of working within the areas of cybersecurity and helping supporting that way. It's very interesting when you actually look at digital, because when you look at digital businesses, so these are businesses that just focus on digital technology, it's actually quite a small percentage of the types of businesses we have in the area. It's only about 2%. But 10% of the job vacancies in 2020 were digital roles. And you can see this compared against the other areas and where they were kind of against occupational groups. The other interesting thing is what types of businesses they were in. So 36% of those roles were only in specialist digital businesses. All the others were in different types of businesses and perhaps traditional sectors. So 11% were in engineering, manufacturing, and you can see around the circle there, 9% in business management, 9% in financial control. So fairly evenly spread across the other kind of sectors. So please don't think that a digital specialist is necessarily in a digital business. They may be in a traditional business of some sort. Job vacancies, well, they declined the same as everybody else did. However, we are seeing an upturn now, and that's the encouraging thing. And there's lots of factors because of this. There's definitely more need. As you can see from the previous graphs, every business is using digital, so there's more and more demand. There's the introduction and the increasing of new technology and networks. So things like 5G, the Internet of Things, that kind of thing. There's a lot of stuff coming through. We have a lot of high-tech industries in the area. So last night we had another broadcast where we had a Formula One team on there. They'll be very much on the digital side. We've got companies like Leonardo down in Luton doing avionics and high-tech digital stuff for the defence industry. There's all kinds of different areas, but we have a lot of high-tech companies that are looking for digital people. The green economy as well will start to kick in, and there will be an element of that that will be digitally driven. And the one good thing about a person with a digital occupation, a digital skill, is it's very much transferable. And you can actually float between different kind of companies and businesses, especially programmers. If you actually look at the types of jobs, and this is the last 12 months, so this is job vacancies, you can see the numbers, they're quite big. So there was a lot of vacancies out there, a lot of opportunities. Software developers and engineers is by far the biggest. And I did have one business actually reporting to me, basically, if you're warm, got a pulse and can program, they'd take you. They are that desperate for people. It's very much in demand. But you can see there are lots of different opportunities there, things like web developers, data mining analysts, as I was saying, that kind of thing. And you might be interested in the salaries on the right-hand side as well. The money is quite good. And especially if you apply yourself and you become a specialist and you're competent at what you do, you could earn a lot of money. It certainly is kind of developing in that way. It's not just about digital though. There are some other things that you will need, and certainly in terms of what we call core competencies, they sometimes get called soft skills or transferable skills. We did a consultation with businesses over the last 18 months as part of a new strategy we were putting together. And those are the top 10 things that kept coming up time and time again from both digital businesses, but for those people looking for digital roles. Communication skills is big, but collaboration and teamwork is very, very important. You will not be doing these roles in isolation. You do have to work with other people. And then you've got the other kind of key skills in there, things like problem solving, troubleshooting, that kind of thing. There are specialist skills depending on what the role is. So you can see things in there like customer service. So it could be you're a digital person but dealing with customers. Budgeting. It could be that you have to run the budget as well. You're doing projects. You've got to make sure that you manage that budget. So there are different elements that kind of come into play in all of this. And then when we get to the digital skills themselves, you can see the list there. This is the top 20. There's programming languages in there, but there are other things as well. So these are the top 20 that come up. I have to say it is changing. SQL is by far the biggest one that comes up as a programming language, but it is reducing, and it's being replaced by a number of different languages, not by a single one. And certainly in the future, for the kind of different operations, etc., there is all kinds of new stuff that is starting to come through. Some of it's here already. We were just talking before the broadcast. This will be a rapidly changing landscape. It will change constantly. Certainly for a programmer, the disciplines of being able to program in terms of attention to detail, the communications, the teamwork, the collaboration, all those kind of things. What the businesses are telling us is, if you've got those, that's good. They can teach you the programming languages, the new stuff as it starts to come through. So it's nothing to fear. It's something to be embraced, really. Good news is there's lots and lots of places you can go and find out more information about the opportunities and the different pathways, etc. And certainly don't be frightened to look at the local colleges. We do have one of these new institutes of technology at Milton Keynes. It's actually based at Bletchley Park, which you might have come across in other things. So digital Bletchley Park, what's not to like? And the universities in particular as well are very strong in the area in some of the resources and the pathways they can offer. We're going to take these slides and we're going to take a recording of this broadcast, and we will be putting them in the next couple of weeks actually on our website. So if you miss anything tonight, don't worry, you'll get a second bite of it and you can go and have a look there. Okay, well, I hope you enjoy the evening. Back to you, Carly.
That's great. Thank you so much, Paul. What a great presentation. I really enjoyed the point you made around digital roles existing in all different types of businesses and sectors, and I think it will have been of quite a lot of interest to our audience today. It's now time for our panel discussion. We have two fantastic speakers joining us today. Richard Beards is the Web and Digital Manager at Northamptonshire Council, and Phil Spokes is the Director of Spokes Education. We will be sharing their biographies and more details about them in our Q&A chat thread as we go. And our first set of questions are very much going to be aimed at finding out about our speakers' own career pathways. Richard, we'd love to start with you if that's okay. It'd be really helpful if you could tell our audience a little bit about your role and the journey you took to get to where you are today.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried after seeing Paul's presentation there. I like those skills I haven't got, so I'll need to go back to school and learn some of those. So my role is, I'm the Web and Digital Manager at Northamptonshire Council. Our councils have just merged together, so there's a big transformation taking place there. So basically we look after the websites and the whole digital estate. So there's 10 people in my team, lots of different skill sets, and the council, we supply lots of services across the whole county. So for people applying for school places, if there's a pothole in the road, that's always popular. We come and fix those. Libraries, paying a parking fine, helping with housing, country parks, lots of different services that people have probably used but don't know who provides them. That's the council. So my role on the website is to make sure that those services are available and people can find out information on there, transact, anything really to try and avoid phoning in. You know, we want to make it self-serve, and our team will write the content, build the forms, enable the payments, all those kind of things. So yeah, that's my day job.
That's great, thank you. And in your biography that we've just shared with our audience, you mentioned that you kind of, I guess, worked your way up in your career and throughout your role. So it'd be really helpful if you could talk to us a little bit about what your early career experiences were and what you learned from them.
Yeah, my early days really were just trying to avoid getting a job, to be honest. So whatever I could do not to go and have a full-time professional job. So I went to what was Nen College. That was what the University of Northampton was before it became the university, and just did computers. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I used to enjoy playing computer games. So my dad said, well, there's a computer course there for software. Go and do that. So that was like a HND, they called that. That was pretty technical. And I wasn't technical, but I struggled through it. I had some good mates on the course who helped me through some of the technical parts, and then I quite enjoyed the management side of things and the economic development side. And then I moved on to do the degree. So I passed the HND. The degree was in computer communications, and again that was much more around management. Was much more interesting. So less techie on that part. And I always found myself kind of leading teams on that within the course. So I really enjoyed that part. And then I think we had one career session at the end of the 4 years, and everyone went around the room to say what jobs they'd got, and everyone seemed to be working at Microsoft or Oracle and all these things. And me and my mate had got a summer placement in America at a theme park. And the career advisor was disgusted. He said, "We just trained you for 4 years and you're going to a theme park in America." So that was part of my plan, again, not to get a proper job. And then unfortunately, when I came back, I just couldn't avoid it. I had to get a job. So I had no idea. There was the sorts of things that you guys offer now in terms of advice. There was nothing really like that. So I had no idea what my degree might do for me. So I ended up getting a job at the council, just in IT, a very, very junior position, box shifter almost, going and delivering the computers, plugging the computers in. But I had a pretty good attitude. You know, they were all pretty geeky in that team, all kept to themselves, didn't talk to people. But I was pretty personable, got on with people, and that kind of helped me move up really. So I got about 2 or 3 promotions, still on the technical side, configuring software, the administration side. But then they created a brand new team, this web team, that no one had really heard of too much then. Websites, this was like, I don't know, almost 20 years ago. They were just coming into fashion, so nobody really applied for it. No one was interested in it. I didn't apply for it, but I'd been on a course that had got web in it, so I was made the team leader of about 3 people, and no one thought it would last. They thought it would be there for 6 months. I still wasn't particularly interested. I was doing a football coaching course. I wanted to go to America and do coaching, but 15, 16 years later, I'm still doing it, and it's been brilliant. It's been almost like being self-employed, you know, having a team of people there. We work with services and people across a huge organisation, helping them get their information and services online, working for customers so customers can use the site, making it really easy for them, and just having a team of people over the years. You know, we've had new people come in, lots of students come in, kids from school, teaching them how to do things, giving people opportunities. So it's been, it wasn't planned. No, I've never planned anything I've done, just kind of fell into it, but just really enjoyed it. And it's never really felt like work, to be honest, and lots of opportunities have come from that. So yeah, I'm not saying that's, you know, an ideal career path that someone would follow, but sometimes you don't have to plan these things. You know, if you find something that you enjoy, and things will come along from it.
Absolutely, thank you so much. I think it's so helpful for our audience to know that you don't have to have everything figured out right now as well, and that, you know, your career will develop and change. And so, yeah, that's really great. Thank you so much. Phil, we'd like to come to you for your first question, if that's okay. Similar to Richard, it'd be great if you could tell us a little bit about your career journey and what it was that led you into your current role.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I'm a bit similar to Richard in that, I didn't know what I wanted to do as well. So I actually did music at college and university. Then it was University College Northampton, so I think that means I'm a little bit younger than Richard. I did music production and really enjoyed it. And I was really passionate about it, but I was just never the most talented musician, so I was never going to really make a career in it. But what I did while I was at college and doing that, we actually set up like a small music promotions company where we'd go and put on local gigs and battle of the band type things at pubs and open mic nights, and we'd do things like that. So that was kind of, and I enjoyed that. You know, I enjoyed the kind of the businessy side of it. And actually on my business modules, I was getting distinctions in all my business modules, and I was in a class with very talented musicians, some who went on to have a very good musical career, and I just identified that, what music isn't for me, but actually I'm doing quite well at the business side. That's what I like doing. And when I finished university, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just know that I wanted to get a job. And I went and actually worked in car rental, and I worked as a sales agent in car rental. So again, started as a junior role, worked up quite quickly to management over about 3 or 4 years. And yeah, I think it was about 4 years, and I became a manager of a branch. And at the time I was about 23, I think. So I was quite young. And I did that for a few years, and then decided I wanted to do something a little bit different. But towards the end of my career at the car rental place, I was doing training sessions with people, and I was actually training them on things like sales techniques, customer service, and things like that. And I enjoyed doing it. So I thought, I'd quite like to get into sort of education. A job came up with an organisation called the Qualification and Curriculum Development Agency. They were part of what they call a Quango, which is a government I can't remember how they say it now, but it's basically part of the Department of Education at the time, and that was to work on national curriculum-based projects. So very much kind of really interested, and it was a project manager role. So actually, I'd never done any project management before, but the skills I'd learned as a manager, the people management side, the organisational side, all those kind of things were transferable skills I took into a project management role. I did that for a couple of years. I got made redundant, absolutely devastated. I loved that job so much, and I never wanted, I thought I'm going to be here forever. I absolutely loved it. And yeah, got made redundant. I actually had the opportunity to stay on in a different department, but I didn't want to do that. So I took the leap, I took the redundancy, and I went to work for another organisation in education. And then after a while, I realised that, the future of education is largely in digital. This was back in 2012. We were doing lots of paper-based curriculum stuff. And I went to get a job at the Open University. So then I was doing project management style stuff at the Open University. And then from there, I really enjoyed that job, had no plans to leave. But someone I used to work with at the QCDA offered me a job as a contractor to go and do a large online digital education project. It was supposed to be 3 months. It meant I had to leave a very comfortable job to take a bit of a punt. Did that. That job lasted for 18 months. And I from that point, I basically became a contractor. And from there, my business grew. I started to take on more projects, got to a point where I couldn't do it all myself, started to take staff on, and now we're at the point where we've got a team of 10. So yeah, my business has grown particularly over the last 2 years. But yeah, I started the kind of the consultancy side 7 years ago, moved more towards an agency, which meant we sort of do more project work rather than me kind of going into an organisation as a contractor, as a kind of almost like an employee, actually then taking, a bespoke project and working with that. And I started doing that probably about 4 years ago. And working more as a freelancer rather than a contractor. And then, yeah, from there, it's kind of just grown. And I'm now where I am, and so I'm running this digital learning company with a great team of people, working with me as well. So yeah, it's great.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much, Phil. I think it's really great that you're able to highlight a few areas in your career where you took a risk or a leap, as you mentioned, and kind of weren't always going to be certain of the outcome and what that would entail. I think it's really interesting that you, in college, set up a small music promotion company and then founded Spokes Education as well. I mean, it really speaks to an entrepreneurial spirit that you must have. So I guess, can you tell us a little bit about what it's like setting up your own company and having that kind of entrepreneurial mindset, I guess?
Yeah, I think, I didn't really ever think, that's why I didn't really kind of go out to kind of be, an entrepreneur. I'm not even sure, that's what I am. But I think, again, like I say, I've just taken a few risks, calculated risks, sensible risks that have kind of gone, what? Like I said, I've left a couple of jobs that I really enjoyed to go and do something that I thought I would enjoy more, knowing that, worst case, if it doesn't work out, I can find myself another job. I'm comfortable, I feel quite confident in myself that I can go and step into another job that I will enjoy. But, as I say, you take these leaps and it's high risk, high reward. The higher the risk, the higher the potential reward. But, there is that kind of chance that it might not work as well. I've been very, very fortunate in the kind of risks I've taken. Like I said, they've always been a bit calculated, but they've worked out. So, and when I left and took the leap to leave the Open University to become a contractor, again, I didn't plan to be where I am now. I wasn't, that wasn't in my mind to kind of go, I'm going to set up a business. It was just, a lot of it was, I can go and work for myself. I can have that freedom. I can earn a lot more money. I tripled my salary in one move, and that for me was at the time I was just trying to buy a house and, all that kind of stuff. And that was a big pull for me from, it's not the only thing, but, it did help. And I think, like I said, I've just taken the opportunities when they presented themselves. It's not a matter of me kind of, really kind of driving to find it. It's like kind of saying, an opportunity's opened, and that's when I took the first member of the team on. It wasn't me going, I'm pushing towards that. Someone came to me and said, here's an opportunity. And I knew that I couldn't do that on my own. I knew if I took that opportunity, I'd have to take someone on. And again, I did it in a calculated way. I said, okay, we'll do that. I gave someone a 6-month contract, knowing that, worst case, that at the end of that 6 months, okay, we can go back to how it was. But, as it happened, it worked out quite nicely, and they're still with me today. So yeah. That's
great. Thank you so much. As our audience will know, a key part of this session is really looking to demystify the digital careers space for our audience and young people. And Richard, I'd be really interested in hearing your thoughts on, I guess, where you see the future of I don't know if digital services is the right word, but of the work you're doing and how you see that developing over the next kind of 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I always split it into two, really. I think some of the slides that Paul showed were brilliant. Some of those core competencies he talks about there were absolutely, that's the first thing, no matter what. If you've got some of those competencies and you just go into just the basics, showing a bit of enthusiasm, wanting to learn, everything that I learned at university is not relevant now. It's totally different. So you're always going to learn these new skills, and you're going to learn them. Every company you go in will have specific things, specific tool sets. So they'll teach you those things. But a lot of the time that you'll learn on the job. So you've got to be wanting to learn those kind of things. And I think there's two types of job. There's one where probably every job, unless it's manual labor, you're going to be using digital skills. You're going to be organizing your work. You're going to be in virtual meetings like this. You're going to be a digital producer, whether that's marketing, whether that's writing documents, doing presentations, presenting data. More and more jobs are going to be like that. And especially with lockdown, that's just like fast track that massively. So I'd imagine a lot of the kids at school now, that's what they are. If they're doing it online on a computer, they're becoming a digital producer. So really being able to create excellent digital assets and be, using those core skills, again, good writing, good English, being to tell a story digitally and tell it simply is going to be pretty much in every job. And then again, like the slides Paul showed, you've got then the specialist job areas. So gaming, e-commerce, God, there's just so many developers, all of those kind of roles. They didn't even exist, some of those roles 10 years ago. So if I was at school, one of the things I think is the key is just not to worry about it and not to panic, and you'll fall into some of these jobs unless you've got a real passion for it now. That's great. But if you join a big organization, you'll fall into those kind of things. If you've got an interest in it, you'll see the work that other people are doing and you'll kind of drift into that kind of area. So I think that's always my advice, is if you get the basics right, and if you join an organization with those basics, then opportunities will definitely arise for you. And if you have got a real passion for key skills and a key area that you want to get into now, that's great. Just learn as much as you can. And you do have to, if you are going to specialize, you have to be really good, because there's going to be some really good people out there, on e-commerce, digital marketing. If you're setting up a website, there's a lot of companies out there doing it. So once you do decide to specialize, you've got to really dedicate yourself to it. And I think that's the kind of thing with web developers and the DevOps role and things that Paul's talked about there. They're really passionate roles then. It's not like a job, it is a passion, and you've got to put a lot of time and effort to dedicate yourself and learn those skill sets, because the competition out there will be tough at that point. So yeah, you haven't got to get there straight away, but it is about being, the basics, and everything's digital now. You're going to be doing digital no matter what, and it's just about enjoying it and enjoying learning. I think they're the two major things.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I guess still on that kind of demystification theme, are there any jobs or job titles that exist in the industry that were a surprise to you and that you didn't know about when you started working in the sector?
I would say they're all they're all new. Probably I'm just scrolling through like a list. I mean, Paul put some of them up there, but I'm just thinking from maybe 10 years ago, did they exist, a lot of these roles? I don't think probably they did. On the website side of things, they were very generalist. When we started managing the websites, we would do a bit of everything. And I look back now, and like I say, we've got specialist roles in the team. I look back and I did a lot of these things. I'm thinking I didn't do them anywhere near as good as what the people do now. I think God knows what our website must have looked like when I was writing the content, writing the forms, using HTML and creating images. You've got real specialists now. So like web developers, they've pretty much always been there, and designers. I think user researchers, that's a new role. So you don't, although you've got digital skills and, you know, producing digital assets, you don't have to be a techie. You know, I think that's the real demystifying bit. It's not about, digital isn't IT. You know, you've still got your traditional IT roles where people are looking after computers and servers, but digital is not IT. Anyone can go into digital, and you don't have to have massively great digital IT skills. You need the digital skills, but like user research, things like that. If you're building a website now, we did it with the new unitary council websites. You go in and talking to customers, and you're finding out in different areas and like businesses, what information do you need on the website, and getting them to complete tasks on the website and watching them, you know, in scenarios like this, and showing them the website, asking for their feedback. That was something that just never existed a few years ago. Digital marketing, traditional comms teams that would write press releases and things like that. That's moved now into all digital. And again, being a digital producer, creating all the graphics, you've probably seen public health and the councils over the last year creating lots of social media about COVID. All the messages there about staying safe and things. They're like, you know, what was in our place, traditional comms people now becoming digital producers and creating Instagram accounts and all those kind of things. So that's where the specialist role has come in, and probably data analysis. I think that's one of the biggest things that's come in. Again, generalist roles, we would look at Google Analytics to see the traffic on the website, what were the popular pages, basics like that. But that's gone to a whole new level now. So the whole analysis of, we've got like a call center, so we get thousands of calls coming in each month. You've got like data analysis there, monitoring what are the calls, what are people calling about, what are people using the website for, what's the traffic through the website, because we want to shift people from phoning in to doing things online. So you need good data to be able to do that. So if you're someone who's really a data focused person, there's great roles like that you can really dig into and use data and be able to present it. So it might be all in a spreadsheet, it might be all numbers, but then you've got to tell a story with that data, put slides together like Paul's done today, make them look graphical, make them look interesting. Yeah, tell a story that way. So they're probably some of the newer roles that we've started to see.
That's great. Thank you so much, Richard. And Phil, would you agree with the idea that you don't have to be, I guess, a techie or particularly tech savvy to work in the digital industry?
Yeah, I'm not techie at all. You know, I can't. Of technical ability, but that actually in itself has served me quite well, you know, because actually, and again in our team, you know, we've got people who, I wouldn't say actually out of the whole of our team, out of the 11 people on our team, none of them are you know, what I would call techie. They're very skilled at the software that they use, but you know, that's something they've learned through using it and through, you know, teaching themselves. It's not something where they've kind of gone, right, you know, I completely understand coding. What we do here is we take people on at a junior level and train them up. So, you know, we have a few different roles, but one of the roles here is an e-learning developer or a digital learning developer. And what that means is they're creating digital courses that, you know, you look at that and, you know, you would go, oh, you know, that's going to take some real skill to do it. And actually, you know, yeah, sometimes, you know, there's some things there that do take that level of skill, but, you know, I can teach somebody to put together a course in, you know, a couple of hours. We went into a school, we did a workshop in a school, and we used what we call a rapid authoring tool, which is you know, is a fairly straightforward tool how to use. But we had guys that are 14, 15 years old, and within an hour of doing this session, they were creating an e-learning course. You know, just so it's not something that, like I said, it's something that can be easily taught and easily learned. And like I said, you find an organisation like, say, someone like us who take people on that junior level, provide you with that training. You know, it's very different when you're learning and doing something on the job, you know, if we were to say to a student now, I'll go and learn to code, you know, okay, well, you've got school, you've got this, and you want to hang out with your friends, you know, how much time are you going to commit to doing that? It's not something, but actually if you're doing your day job, you start and do it in a logical, structured way with somebody who can take you through that, you know, you can learn it a lot quicker. So I don't, you know, what I'm trying to say is you shouldn't be intimidated by these things. You know, you look at it and kind of go, oh, that's completely alien to me. Like I said, every single one of the guys that's come in as a junior level to me, you know, when they start, they're like, oh, I'll never be able to do that. And, you know, a year later, they're doing it, you know, and they're doing it really, really well. So, you know, I think, so yeah, I definitely think you don't need to be a techie. I think there's stuff you can learn. And like there's plenty of jobs out there which you can learn on the job as well. As long as you've got that right attitude, you know, that kind of willingness to learn, then, you know, people want those attitudes, and people are willing to kind of invest time in you if you have that.
That's great, and I think it's so fantastic that just in this short discussion so far, we've been able to, I guess, quash the misconception that you would have to be really technologically savvy to work in digital. Are there any other misconceptions that you have, I guess, challenged or changed your mind on over the years at all, Phil?
Yeah, like I said, I think for me, you know, now I'm recruiting, and like I said before, when you kind of, you know, I was looking at jobs and I'd always think, oh, you know, I can't do that. I don't have that one, you know, they've got a list of criteria, right? And they say, we want you to have these 10 skills, and you're kind of looking at, oh, I don't have that one skill. So, okay, that's out the window. I'm not going to do that. Now, you know, as a recruiter, you know, or someone that recruits people, I'm almost thinking, you know, we don't always put like essential criteria now. We just say, look, can you do these things, or are you willing to learn these things? And, you know, if someone comes to me and said, look, you've got 10 things, you could do 8 of them really well, you can learn 2 of those. You know, you've got the transferable skills, so you've got the aptitude to learn those additional things. It's not about, you know, for me, like I said, the organisations where you see those jobs and they kind of put all this essential criteria and they expect you to have 10 years experience of this, that and the other, they're not the organisations you want to work for. And I think something as well that I've learned is it's not necessarily about the job, and it's not necessarily, it's about the organisation and about your manager and the person, you know. So when you're kind of first looking for that job, and if you're not sure what you want to do, go and find a job that has really good ethics and good morals and values, and, you know, that you can go and grow and develop. And then, like Richard said earlier, you'll find these kind of pathways open up, you know, for the people that are motivated and have that attitude. Like I said, you know, all the opportunities I've had are things that have opened up to me because I've had a good work ethic. People have approached me because they're like, you know what, Phil, we can rely on Phil for this, and Phil will be able to pick that up. And, you know, it's not something that, you know, I've known how to do at the time necessarily, but it's something someone's kind of gone, oh, you know what, I'm going to put faith in Phil because of this. And, you know, the same as Richard, you know, he's taken those opportunities that have opened up. And like I said, and as he said, there's going to be opportunities now that don't exist at this moment in time, but by the time, you know, students now leaving school are kind of, you know, progressing their career, there's going to be these new opportunities that no one can do at the moment, or no one is doing, and therefore people need to kind of go and specialise in those things. So yeah, definitely for me, a big part of it is just having that good attitude and kind of, you know, just going into something open-minded and being prepared to kind of, you know, look out for those opportunities and take those opportunities when they're presented to you. Like I said, I wanted to be in music. That's what I wanted to be when I was younger, and, you know, over time, like I said, I've taken this bit of a snake, you know, but it's all about, you know, landing where I've landed because I've taken those opportunities and found things that I enjoyed, and, you know, kind of sidestepped a little bit here and there. But yeah, it's sorry, I'm going on a bit now, but yeah, it's definitely just take those opportunities when you see them, and like I said, just having the right attitude and having that will present those to you.
Absolutely, I think that's fantastic, and we will come on to some of those kind of skills, characteristics and attributes later on in the discussion as well. And Richard, I guess it would really help if you could tell us the one thing you enjoy the most about your job. And Phil, we'll come to you with that question next.
I think giving people opportunities, that's what I really enjoy. I think, you know, when teams first started off, it was all about me doing the work, and then, you know, the satisfaction that I would get from doing some work. But as you get older and then you move on, you get more people in the team. You know, we've had some real youngsters in the team join straight from school. We had a girl join us who was 15 on work experience. She came for 2 weeks and she was brilliant. You know, she was building websites in that 2 weeks. And I thought she would go on to become Prime Minister or something like that. I mean, she was just like amazing. And then never heard from her after she left. She baked a cake on her last day. That was great. Never heard from her. 3 years later, she just emailed me and said, I've finished school now. Have you got any jobs? And we'd just closed a job, like a real entry level administrator, but we opened it up, you know, because we wanted her to work in the team. So we opened it back up, got her in, and she's been with us 5 years now. And she's progressed, she's had different opportunities. We've really opened up opportunities for her because she's got such a fantastic attitude. She didn't have all the digital skills she's got now, she didn't have when she joined us. You know, she was very competent, she could do presentations, you know, we taught her how to do the website side of things, but she's just learned on the job. She's been really enthusiastic, taught herself a lot of the time, and she's just completed an apprenticeship now, doing like a digital business analyst apprenticeship course, and she's learned so many skills from that to apply into her role. So yeah, that's the satisfaction I get, is giving people opportunities and then seeing the work that then she does. And I think that's the key thing, you know, you don't always have to plan your career, and you're not the only person who's going to be driving your career. If you go into somewhere that's kind of a big organization, or somewhere like with Phil, if you've got a good attitude and you just do the basics, you turn up on time, you're presentable, you're enthusiastic, you smile, people will want to help you and people will want to make you progress. And you don't have to know everything. They'll look after you and they'll make sure that opportunities arise, and things that you would never even think of at school would just, you know, it would just happen naturally. So I think it's all about attitude, I think, getting the right attitude. And sometimes we've had people who haven't had the right attitude and that wasn't their time to work. You know, I've said to them, look, if you're not going to be in this space, go and do something else, do something totally different, go and travel, go and work at McDonald's, go and do anything. You know, working in an office environment is not for everybody. But when you do want to settle down and do it, it is all about attitude, I think. And if you've got that right, then, you know, things will happen for you just naturally.
That's fab. Thank you so much. And Phil, what's the one thing you enjoy the most about your job?
I was going to say exactly the same as Richard, so I'll think of something else. So yeah, but definitely that people development side for me, like I said, as Richard said as well, like I said, you know, it's more about developing yourself, and when you get to a certain point, and actually you're now responsible for helping other people develop. I remember when I was at the car rental organisation, and I became the best seller in the region in the first 3 months. But I got much more satisfaction when I became the team leader, and I took on a sales agent, and he became that person, and he overtook me. I got much more joy and satisfaction out of seeing that, and again helping him to progress. And he went on and to have a really good career. Then I think he's still working there. And yeah, so I think the other thing then, aside from that, is as a business owner, it means I get to make the decisions, which is nice. It's also scary. It's also, a lot of pressure. A lot of people are responsible, not just, the team, but the clients and other businesses and things like that, that you're kind of taking a lot more responsibility on your shoulders. But I enjoy that. I enjoy the responsibility. I enjoy being able to make decisions and not having to answer to anyone, and not having the kind of the red tape that are, certainly in government organisations. And I won't speak for Richard too high, mate, but it can get a little bit hard sometimes when you want to do something, or you're restricted. And as a business owner, the only things that's restricting me is myself, or potentially budget and finance. But generally speaking, if I want to do something, we have the means to do that. We can go and do it, and that's what we're doing. We've just set up a second business to go and create our own courses. Because we can and we want to, and it'll be fun and it'll be good and it'll be worthwhile, and people, hopefully people will want to buy those courses. So yeah, I think that's probably it for me. Just that kind of the freedom and the ability to make decisions without being restricted by other things and other people.
That's great. Thank you so much. And we've had a question submitted here around something that we spoke about earlier. What is the Internet of Things?
Do you want that one, Richard?
Cheers, Phil. The Internet of Things is basically everything being connected on the internet. So if you think of, it goes to extremes where you can have your fridge Wi-Fi connected to your fridge. So if you're I don't know, if you've got 1,000 cans of Coke in there and it drops down to 10, you get an alert, or it'll automatically then buy you a load more cans in from Tesco. That is a very extreme area, but it is about everything being online. If you think few years ago, mobile phones, they were just purely for making phone calls. Now we've got iPhones. That is putting your phone on the internet, so it's available on the internet. So that is really what it is, the Internet of Things. You can do lots more with it. You can collect data. So in town centres now, they'll put little sensors there. So you can track all like the kind of footfall through town centres, know where the hot zones are, the cold zones. So you collect that data and then it can be put online on the internet, and then different companies can have access to that data, and they can take that data and do lots of different things with it, model it and do whatever. So yeah, it's about putting devices on the internet, and ideally not for gimmicky type things like the fridge and the kettle, but for good things that people can do good things with.
That's great. Thank you so much. You've both spoken about kind of supporting and developing others in your teams, and I think one of the key things to that is work experience. And so if our audience were interested in gaining work experience, would you have any top tips for them, or how could they stand out in their industry? And Richard, perhaps we could start with you, and then Phil will come to you next.
Yeah, I mean, ideally they want to pick something that they're interested in. You know, it is tricky when you're that age to know where you want to go and what you want to do. But, you know, work experience is a great, you know, at any age, not just if you're 15, 16, you know, even a bit later on, if you're going to get work experience somewhere, being able to go somewhere and really make an impact. Like I said, you know, Lucy and our team came at 15. She was just interested in the internet and interested in IT at school, but her attitude, you know, she could have gone anywhere. She could have had a lot of work experience at NASA. She would have stood out. She was that good. So I think you want to go somewhere where you're going to enjoy it and really make an impact, because by having those sort of work placements, you know, things can happen from that. You can get a job. That's what Lucy did in our team. Future opportunities will arise. So we've been talking to some of the students at the university, and getting work placements there is really key, because when they get those work placements, 9 times out of 10 they will go on to work for those companies later on. So yeah, it's worth thinking about and putting some time into it, rather than just taking any role or anything just to fill the 2 weeks. Try and think about going somewhere where you're going to be into it. And like, again, what Phil said, find a company that you might be interested in. You know, good companies are the places to go to. If you know where a good company is, word of mouth, people that maybe have been there before, if you know some older school kids that have done work experience there. But yeah, try and go somewhere that maybe is not necessarily to be big companies. You know, if you get work experience opportunity with Phil, that'd be a fantastic option there. But yeah, something where you think you're going to be able to at least be motivated for the 2 weeks and put some effort in.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And Phil, just thinking about that work experience and how students can secure that, would you recommend students contact organisations of their own back, and what would make that email or phone call stand out to you?
Yeah, definitely. You know, like I said, I've got loads of examples. You know, we've taken lots of interns on. You know, over the last few years, you know, we like taking interns and getting opportunities, and from that internships, you know, we've given full-time jobs. You know, and another example recently as well, we had an internship for digital marketing. And one of the girls that applied for it, unfortunately, she wasn't eligible because it was only for actual graduates. It was a funded scheme. But I said, you know what, I really liked your application, stay in touch. She did that. She added me on LinkedIn, and then we had another opportunity that come up in the future. And guess what? Who do I go to? You know, and she got the job. You know, because she showed that attitude, she showed that willingness. She showed, you know, she took the initiative to stay in touch. She took the initiative to keep in contact. So yeah, definitely say, you know, again, that stands out to me. Something we do as well. Every kind of person that we interview, we always say to them, you know, even if they're not successful, stay in touch. You know, you've got to this stage for a reason. You know, there's 125 applicants, and you've got down to the last 3 for a reason. You know, we've only got one job, but stay in touch. And come to me if you want some help with, you know, if you've got another job coming up, you come speak to me, or, you know, I'm happy to help you with any other kind of future applications. But it's something that I like to do, and we always do. And the people that kind of do that, you know, they, again, that shows me they've got that kind of motivation. They want to do it. They kind of, you know, they're taking that extra kind of little bit of initiative, taking that extra sort of brave step to kind of get in contact with someone to sort of get them to help. So definitely, you know, just getting in contact, you know, the amount of times I do that and how many people actually come back to me is really, really small. So, you know, just doing that in itself stands you out, because, you know, sort of say, look, I'm really keen. Look into the company, like Richard said, like, find that good company, look into their values and kind of go, you know what, that's the kind of company I want to work for. I like your values. I like what you do. And if you then go to them and sort of say, look, I really like what you do. I share your values. Again, someone that comes to me and says, look, this is what I believe in. I think all these things, same things as you. Then great. I want you on our team because we know that we're on the same page. We know that you're going to fit in and you're going to take those things seriously. So yeah, definitely do a bit of research into the company, approach them. Don't be shy. Worst case, what's going to happen? They don't get back to you. That's the worst case. If they don't get back to you, don't be afraid to go and ask them again and knock on their door again. And again, it just takes a little bit of resilience because you might get a lot of rejections throughout your time. I've been rejected hundreds and hundreds of times, for different jobs, for different contracts we've gone for. You get knockbacks all the time, but if you just have that bit of persistence and if there's something you really want, just keep going and go for it. And actually, if someone said to me, if I say to someone, look, I'm sorry I don't have a job now, if they just keep knocking on my door, I'm not going to ignore them. I can't ignore them. So that gives themselves a much more stronger opportunity to, I'm going to remember you. I'm going to, if an opportunity comes up, I'm going to want to give you an opportunity. And again, I've got a couple of examples. I won't, I'm aware of times, I won't go into them, but where people have done that and I've wanted to give somebody an opportunity and I've made an opportunity for somebody, and that's happened, in this organisation, even with a staff of 10, 2 or 3 of those have come about from people, not necessarily having a job, but someone making me want to give them an opportunity because they've taken that initiative.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Phil. You might have a few students approaching you after today's session, trying to get those opportunities. And Paul, it'd be really helpful if we could come to you next. Perhaps you could tell us about some of the work experience or virtual work experience opportunities available across the area.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this year's been a little bit tough in terms of the traditional kind of work experience and young people actually coming into businesses. What's actually happened is there's been a whole host of activity kind of be created digitally and very quickly, I have to say as well, to give people the experience of virtual work experience. All online in a structured kind of way. And in many ways, it's actually proved to be beneficial in terms of there were some traditional sectors that we had where it was perhaps a little bit dangerous for youngsters to do work experience, where they can actually do it virtually. It's perfectly safe. It's great. So yeah, we've been working with Speakers for Schools, and the guys here are hosting for us. And we have an offer of virtual work experience for businesses to get involved with us and Speakers for Schools to actually host that work experience for youngsters. So if there's any parents out there, carers, and you know, even if you're a small, tiny little business, even a one-man band, you can actually offer up to really 30 places kind of quite comfortably on a work experience. So yeah, I mean, there are those opportunities. I mean, I would say to youngsters, desperately try and get as much work experience as you possibly can. I said this last night in the other broadcast we did, but I have never met any young people who have not got some of those core competencies, transferable skills, soft skills. They've got them. What they haven't got is the evidence that they've got them. And that's the challenge when you're a bit younger. And one of the best ways you can do this is work experience in some shape or form. And don't think it necessarily has to be linked directly with the occupation you want to go into. If you're waitressing or something like that, that's communication skills. You're looking after money. You're actually turning up on time. It's teamwork. It's collaboration. There's all those kind of things that come from that. So, yeah, I mean, just take the opportunities they present themselves. Have a look on our website, folks. Employer engagement. It's all there. There's a link through. So please get involved.
That's great. Thank you so much. And as we draw the session to a close, we have one final question for each of our speakers to answer. And that is, what is the one piece of advice you would like to leave our students with? And Richard, we'd love to come to you first.
You're going to Phil first on that one. One piece of advice. Tricky to say one piece. I guess if it's being digital, I think it is to become, a digital producer. That'd be my one piece of advice. If you're at school, practice on things. You might not really want to create these things. Social media, obviously, there's things you have to be wary of, but create a YouTube channel, create your videos. You haven't got to post them all, but learn how to do that, those kind of things. Create some images, create posters, digital posters, create short videos, podcasts. Learn how to do that. Learn how to do some slideshows. Learn how to present information well. Just getting into that kind of mindset of creating digital assets and things like that. I would say that's my one piece of advice. There's lots of advice you could give, but that would be, I think that's the mindset I think people have got to get into from a young age, I think.
That's fab. Thank you so much. And Paul, do you have a final piece of advice for our audience?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty similar, actually, to be honest with you. I mean, it's just don't be frightened to try stuff. Just have a go. There will be opportunities that present themselves. I totally agree with what Phil and Richard were talking about earlier. You might plan your first job, but thereafter, forget it. Just take the opportunities that come as they come along. So, I mean, certainly in terms of getting prepared for the world of work, there are some fantastic stuff out there at the moment, a lot of which have resulted because of COVID-19. So there is a skills toolkit, or one word. If you type that into Google, you'll be able to find some free kind of things there. And FreeLearn, which is a whole bunch of free courses and goodness knows what from the Open University, at lots of different levels. So adults and youngsters, please go and have a play. Go and have a play, because you just could find something that you really latch into, and that could be the start of something big. It really could.
That's fab. And finally, Phil, what one piece of advice would you like to leave our audience with today?
One piece is really hard, but yeah, I mean, talking from digital perspective, totally agree with what Paul said earlier, and what Richard has said. So in terms of kind of like showing the evidence of work, showing the evidence is something that's really important to me as an employer, because I'd much rather take somebody that's got no work experience, but they've no relevant work experience, but have shown that kind of willingness and determination, and they've taken initiative to go and do some volunteer work, or to do something in their own time, to put together a portfolio of work. Someone that's shown that initiative is much more important to me than someone that's gone, I've been in a job for 5 years and I've kind of plodded my way along. Someone that's kind of taken that extra little step. So yeah, it's like I said, it comes back to that attitude and taking those opportunities and making things happen for yourself, and that's what will make you stand out. For me, like I said, those kind of extra bits. And like I say, it's not so much about just the work experience to say, oh, you know what, I've got these skills, which is of course an important part of it, but it's also to show, what, I've gone out there, I've put myself out there, I want to work, I want to be a success, I want to kind of achieve something. And again, I think Paul mentioned it, don't be afraid to take that leap. Every single person that's coming to our organisation, no one knows about digital learning as a career path. It's a fairly new thing. All the people who have come into digital learning that I know of have had to come from other pathways. They've come from teaching, they've come from graphic design, they've come from development, and and what that means is there's no one really that I would say they're a digital designer. The people are starting to develop it now. So when you go into those jobs, don't think, oh, that's not me. Think about those transferable skills. Think about what you can bring to it, and if you've got graphic design skills, you could become an e-learning developer. If you've got teaching skills, you could become an e-learning developer. It's not about having to have that one kind of path and kind of stick to it and be rigid. So yeah, be open to new things that will, like I said, more and more new things will just come up all the time. So yeah, don't be afraid to explore them and find out more about them, and say, just take a dive and say, look, I'm interested in this. Can you show me what it means? And you might enjoy it or you might not, but you don't know until you try. So.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Phil. And a huge thank you to Richard and Paul for joining us today as well, and to our audience for tuning in. We have posted a feedback form in the Q&A thread, and it'd be great if our students could complete this. And we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for our final broadcast of the week, and the topic we'll be focusing on then is logistics. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening.